When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. But this summer, life has other plans for the world. It's given us a pandemic and a lockdown. So, what do you do when life gives you a lockdown instead of lemons? Apply the same strategy as you would for lemonade. You try to make the best of the situation and innovate and use your time constructively. Welcome to Yahoo Interviews, and you are with me, Chaitra, Anand. Some of the pertinent questions haunting us in these uncertain times are: how am I going to sustain my business? Will my job be secure? Will I have to take a pay cut? And if you're an entrepreneur, things like: how will I pay my employees? If you're a parent, how is my child's education going to progress? To ease your anxiety on some of these questions, on this edition of Yahoo Interviews, we are going to speak with Varun Agarwal, who's an entrepreneur, author, a motivational speaker, and an influencer. He is the founder of the online education app Mento, a new approach to learning online and away from classrooms. Especially now, when we are faced with the challenge of staying indoors with schools shut and children left in the lurch over how to spend their time, online learning apps are the need of the hour. Thanks for making time to speak with us on Yahoo Interview, Varun.
Thank you so much for having me over, Chaitra.
So tell us, as a startup entrepreneur, how are you handling and managing work during the lockdown?
Well, obviously, these are unprecedented times for all of us, and it's a very tough time, especially for startups. It has been quite a challenge to manage my team remotely from across India because all of them went home. To manage all of them across the place and to figure out work timings and to get everybody to finish their tasks. It has been quite challenging, but also it's been a great new learning experience. Also, it's given me a lot of insights about how to get people to work remotely and how you technically don't need to have an office if your work involves people and the internet, basically, right? So it's been a very, very interesting journey so far. And I think I've learned more in the last 1 month than ever before.
I wanted to understand, when you first launched your educational app, it was called Grades Don't Matter. And now the name has been changed to Mento. Is that right? And can you run us through how your app is relevant, especially in these times?
So basically, I launched Grades Don't Matter 2 years ago, and we relaunched it again this year with a new name called Mento. The word Mento comes from the word mentor. The app basically uses celebrities and experts in various different fields to teach you micro learning about stuff, right? So, for example, Ritesh Agarwal, the founder of Oyo, teaches you about entrepreneurship as a career. Then we have Nitesh Tiwari, the guy who directed Dangal, teaches you about filmmaking as a career. Or you have somebody like Kubra Seth who teaches you about emceeing as a career. Basically, this is educational content on the lines of binging educational content, like how you would binge a Netflix show. So Mento is basically like a Netflix for education, right? Where you can pick any particular topic or subject and basically watch the content for the next 1 or 2 hours while being completely zoned into that. The advantage is the content is very, very packaged in a way that it does not cause you to get bored in any form or way. Also, the content is spoken by a celebrity, so that adds an added value for you to listen and actually view the content. The advantage for us during the lockdown is basically people were looking for casual learning and micro learning where they didn't have to spend too much time learning it, but they also didn't want to feel like they wasted their entire day doing nothing. So in that context, Mento really helps because you can learn anywhere between just 10 minutes to an hour a day, and you get to learn a lot in that short period of time. On top of that, you get to learn a lot from a renowned celebrity or an expert, which also then makes it very worthwhile.
And how does it compare to other educational apps, traditional educational apps, I would say? Or these days, we also have like a lot of other video conferencing um, uh, platforms where children are able to log on to online classes. So how does it compare to that? And what is your USP?
So I think the first USP obviously is that you have celebrities that you won't find anywhere else teaching you all of this stuff, right? That's primarily our main USP. The second USP is the way the content is packaged. So we figured that the average attention span of a user right now is about 7 seconds. So we work with an attention disorder specialist to figure out how to make sure that our content is presented in a way that people don't get distracted easily, and make sure that they complete the course and they watch all the content that they signed up for.
So these two things definitely make it our USP. The third thing is it's casual learning. You get to know a lot of things about a particular career or a particular subject, uh, and so you don't have to make it look or seem like this is a study hour or you need to set aside time to study this. It's basically like edutainment, right? So it's casual learning and it's micro learning, and it's adding value to your life. How is it different from the other edtech platforms? The teachers that we have teaching these can't be found in the other edtech platforms. The kind of manner in which we present our content, that is the very visual way in which we present our content, won't be found in other edtech platforms. A typical edtech platform would teach the subjects or topics that we teach over a course of about 4 to 5 hours. We compress all of that in an hour. Reason being, nobody has a lot of time now. Nobody has a lot of patience, and everybody wants everything served to them very quick. The millennials are from an Instagram generation. Everybody has a very short attention span. Hence, we present our content in a very crisp, short, and very visual manner that appeals to the audience that we serve. And that's pretty much the USP from other tech platforms. Also, right now, there is a lot of online webinars and live video sessions that are happening. They're also being given by a lot of celebrities. But I just feel that the learning experience for that is not that great. Having taken a few of them myself, I just feel that what these live sessions do is basically just mimic a classroom experience. So, for example, let's say if you have a teacher in the classroom and now you put a webcam on him, that's the kind of experience you have. But I believe that in order to have an immersive e-learning experience, you need to be visually and mentally totally connected to the content you're watching. So while webinars work and while live sessions work, I personally don't get too connected with them because I believe they're just mimicking the classroom experience, right? But if you want to succeed in e-learning, you got to give them an experience that they keep coming back for more.
All right. So who is your target audience really? Because why I'm asking you this question is because especially at this time when we're all in lockdown, and most of us are working from home, at least those of us who can work from home. We have children who we really want to keep the children engaged. So how do you, but children, I don't think the celebrity angle would exactly appeal to them, right? They want meticulous, somebody who will capture their attention. How do you cater to that age group? I'm talking about the age group between, say, 6 onwards. So how do you cater to that age group and keep them interested?
So I don't think we'd cater to the age group between 6 to about 15. I don't think we stand in that age group. The initial plan for the platform was to reach out to students, final year students of schools and colleges. And we assumed that this would be our primary audience, considering that they would want to know about which careers they should take up for their life and what they should pursue. But over the last 1 month, from the data that we've collected, we've realized that the people who are watching our platform are from actually all walks of life and all age groups. So we had a mother of two actually watch our personal finance course, which gave her the necessary freedom and confidence to go about starting her own personal finance plan. We had a 16-year-old kid take some of the courses. We had a 42-year-old man who wanted to understand how food blogging works. We had a 26-year-old young entrepreneur who wanted to understand how to start a restaurant. So we've had people from all walks of life trying to understand how things work, and all of them have really said that the platform really helped them. A, because it wasn't too serious, but B, gave them enough and sufficient information for them to get started, or give them the necessary push to get started in that direction. And that is how we're keeping the audience engaged. Also, we're coming up with more relevant skills. For example, personal finance is a very relevant skill that is necessary in this day and age.
Absolutely.
And we're trying to teach that in a very simple way. And the people who've taken our personal finance courses are scared of math, are scared of numbers, are scared of finance, are scared of anything related to that. But all of these people have come back to us and said, they've learned everything about personal finance because we made it so simple for them.
How do you think this lockdown is impacting businesses and the economy? Of course, your business included, but overall as well, how do you think it's impacting? the economy?
I think it's already impacted a lot of businesses, and writing is already on the wall. There are 30 million people who are jobless right now in America, which was never seen, which has never been seen for a long time. Uh, how many in India would be out of jobs? We don't even know. We haven't even gotten out of the lockdown to start figuring out what the impact this has had in India. But the clear direct impact would be the tourism industry, the F&B industry. These two industries will be very, very strongly hit. Again, there, British Airways has already,
Of course,
uh,
aviation.
uh, yeah, they've laid off 12,000 employees. Boeing is planning to lay off 20% of their workforce. What people don't understand is that if the tourism industry, if the airline industry, and the F&B industry cut jobs and scale back, there are 100 other industries that support them. Then they'll also have to scale back. Uh, and even IT industries support all of these industries. There are IT industries dedicated only to restaurants, only to airlines, and only to F&B. All of them will have to scale back. So this is a very, very scary time in terms of where the economy can go. I don't see things opening up very easily. If you look at the China model, so China was basically, if you look at Wuhan, it was shut for 3 months to contain the virus. And after Wuhan opened up, the restaurants, malls, pubs, bars, most of them remain shut. And even the ones that are open have a lot of rules and regulations. Also, there's no intercity travel allowed. Hotel traveling has a lot of restrictions. So the tourism industry will clearly suffer. The food and beverage industry will clearly suffer.
Yeah.
Restaurant industry is going to suffer. Aviation is already suffering. I don't imagine anybody taking a flight very easily this year. Uh, a lot of aviation industry companies survive on monthly cash flow, right, and daily cash flow, and that will really impact them a lot. So I think in economic sense, this has already started creating a lot of ripples. If
That's
you look at what impact they've had in the market, um, uh, something as safe as mutual funds is already getting affected. There was this mutual fund called Franklin Templeton, which is one of India's and the world's premium mutual fund. They shut down 6 of their premium funds because everybody started taking their money out, and they didn't have liquidity to fund all of those redemptions. India suffered the biggest market loss across the world. 30% of our market value was wiped out. We went down 30%, and though we've reclaimed 10%, it's still a long way to go. So people lost a lot of money in the markets. I personally lost a lot of money in the market. So in an economic sense, well, I don't think things are going to look up at least this year. We can definitely take out 2020 in any form of growth. The only thing we can do this year is to try and survive. I think economically that should be the main aim. I don't think we can expect growth or any of that. All we should do is just basically everybody should just look at surviving.
So, what do you think would be the best course for the government to follow in terms of improving the economy or the job scenario? And also, because you are, I mean, you have a startup. What should the government really do for small and medium businesses? Uh,
Well, if you look at the American model, they had a $2 trillion stimulus, right? Where they're supporting small and medium businesses by offering them cash flow for 3 months, 6 months, depending on the size of the business. They're also offering a stimulus for their general citizens. Everybody's going to be getting a $1,200 check, and so on and so forth. With the Indian context, I don't know if that is possible. Only 3% of India pays income tax. The Indian government cannot sustain supporting small and medium enterprises with the stimulus because there's so many of them. And how do you decide who gets what? Do you decide a mom and pop store gets money, and or do you decide like a startup gets money? So in India, the layering is way more complex. Number one, number two, our population is too large to hand out any money to the general population. Number three, the government is not as rich, not even comparatively, to be able to offer a stimulus package. So, with the Indian context, I really don't see the government contributing much. In fact, our country is the only one probably where the government has requested general citizens for funds,
right.
right?
Yeah.
That's quite ironic considering the governments of other countries are handing money to their citizens, but in our country, the government is asking the citizens, please donate. If that was the scenario in the beginning of the lockdown,
And it's not the government's fault. The government can only play with the money that they have. It's not like suddenly they're going to get access to a lot of money, right? So it's not the government's fault. It's just that we shouldn't be relying on the government. But the problem is if the lockdown extends, the economy keeps being shut down, right? There were these two professors who said keeping the lockdown extended, right, is like staying inside a burning house, because you can save lives, but you can't save livelihoods. And that's where the problem lies. 90% of India pretty much lives on a daily wage. And if you are going to keep the lockdown extended, the problem is just not feeding these daily wages, right? The companies that employ them will start shutting down, and the companies that could possibly employ them will not have the resources to employ them. So a lot of these people are going to go jobless,
Right.
and that's going to be the first impact of all of this. So while it's very necessary for the lockdown to save lives, uh, with a country like India where we do not have that much money to bail people out, we can't keep being locked down, because then livelihoods get affected.
What are the steps that you are taking to ensure the financial safety of your employees and also that of their health? Are they how are they working? Are they working from home? How are you handling the whole scenario right now?
So all of them are working from home, and I don't think we'll be going into an office environment at least till July. That's for sure. In terms of future of the company and financial safety, well, right now I haven't faced any strong things because I'm in e-learning, and fortunately for me, e-learning is working well under the circumstances since everybody is locked down.
But we will have to see how things pan out 1 or 2 months later, when we will have to go out and shoot more content and produce more content. So if restrictions on movement still exist, then we can't produce more content, and if we can't produce more content, then we can't get more users. So we will also face serious problems going further. But as of now, we're fine, and this is how we're going to tackle the situation. And also, we're saving a lot of money on rent and travel and all of that by making sure everybody's working from home.
But
And I think that's
you are paying your everyone who's working with you, right? Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the salaried staff,
And
you are paying them.
yeah, yeah, those are going out. And I think the general transition that's going to start happening is that every company in the world has realized that people can work from home. And every company has realized the amount of resources they spend on getting people to an office. And I think the greatest outcome that's going to happen because of COVID is that you'll see at least 30% of all companies going to make sure that people work from home.
Is that a welcome change that you are looking at?
I think that's a great change. A, because it reduces traffic, reduces pollution, reduces lowers the inflated real estate prices, gives more opportunity for people to not to buy more real estate at a much more affordable price. I think it's definitely a welcome change, and more importantly, it's going to lower the pollution. Yeah, because imagine the number of vehicles that are going to reduce because of this. And also, I think if they can figure out how to not overwork their employees, I think in terms of productivity, it's great, because all you do is wake up, show up at your screen, and work from there, rather than wasting time and getting tired by doing the traveling to and fro. I don't know about other cities, but in Bangalore, it's exhausting.
I do agree with you that it can bring about a lot of good changes. But like you said, organizations need to figure out a way of making sure that burnout doesn't happen.
That's
I
the only drawback.
Yeah.
What we've realized is that organizations have started overworking their employees because of lesser commute and lesser other things. But I think that should not be the reason to overwork anyone. You should stick to your regular work, and you should stick to the regular work timings that they've been given. And if that does not happen, then this work from home stuff fails. If employers feel that they can get 30% extra work by making employees stay at home, I don't think the employees will be okay with that.
There are pros and cons to it. So
Yeah.
I want to get your general perspective on, other in the service industry. While work from home works for some of us, online and e-learning and the IT, maybe some tech people, but service industries are really have been hit hard, especially in the startup segment. For example, food delivery apps. maybe cab services and other online services. What is the scope for them to recover during these times? How do they innovate?
I really feel it really depends on how the virus takes shape. Yeah. If the virus is completely eliminated, obviously we're looking at a whole different scenario. But I don't see a lot of people using cabs or public transport. I think the demand for your own vehicles is going to shoot up, right? A lot of people are now going to start buying their own bikes and start buying their own cars or whatever and whatnot. Just the general fear of getting into a cab where already about 100 people have already got in before you is frightening. And especially the way people have described how the virus spreads, uh, because your driver has been exposed to so many people, the chances of you catching the virus from the driver increases exponentially. So I don't see a lot of people sitting in an Uber and Ola easily. Secondly, ordering from Swiggy has already gone down, right? It's at 30% right now. Uh, Again, if only if things improve will people start ordering more. Otherwise, I think people would still prefer to cook at home to not take that risk.
Like me,
And
for example, yes, I used to order Swiggy pretty much every alternate day, and now I don't.
yeah, same. I would order it every alternate day, but I've only ordered it once in the last 1 month. So it really depends. And you see, the problem is, it's not like if for 10 days there's no news about Corona, people are just going to be fine. Because if, again, one outburst you hear of, you're going to go back into that same pattern. So I don't know how we're going to break that pattern very easily. So I feel service industries are going to suffer in 2020 for sure. Because I don't see myself stepping into an Uber or an Ola without getting anxiety. I will if I have to, but throughout the ride, I would be tensed. And I remember before the lockdown started, I went on an Uber ride, and I was tense throughout the ride. And even though the cab guy just coughed once, and it was obviously nothing, it still psyched me out. So now you can imagine post lockdown what the possibilities of people getting nervous or people getting anxious stepping into any of these cabs could be.
I think it's really strange that until coronavirus hit us, Ola or Uber were like the order of the day, and now we're all scared to take them. So I wonder how they're going to innovate. It would be interesting to discover how they are going to innovate to sustain.
I think obviously the first thing would be to have a screen between the driver and the passenger, and obviously to make sure that there are enough steps that you don't feel like the previous passenger, even if he had something, you can catch it from them. But even then, it's got nothing to do with what the brands can do or the companies can do. It's about the perception of the consumers.
Right.
For example, Domino's and Swiggy came up with this contactless cooking and delivery, right?
Yeah.
It didn't mean that everybody started ordering from them, and it didn't suddenly change the tide for them, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about public perception and fear, really. And if that continues, then the service industry will continue to suffer. I mean, think about it. You're not going to step into a restaurant that's crowded anymore. The very norm of stepping into a restaurant was if it's crowded, because that's a great restaurant. But if you're going to see a crowded bar or a restaurant from far, you're going to be like, I can go in, grab that quick drink or get that quick meal, but I'm putting my entire life at risk for just that small thing.
That's true. I don't think until a vaccine is found, any of us are going to take that chance.
Yeah, and then that's pretty much why consumerism is going to be very, very low in 2020. Hence, the economy is not going to have a very positive outlook.
So, as a social media influencer, Varun, what have you done? What are the steps that you have taken to curb, to create awareness about coronavirus? How have you managed to influence people? Especially because you're such a positive, you seem to be a very positive person. So, how have you been managing to influence people into maintaining a positive outlook?
Yeah, so the way I'm doing it on social media is basically, presenting any sort of facts that I think can help easen out any sort of anxiety. And I did that in the initial few days when the lockdown started. I would post all the things that would eliminate a lot of confusion. I also spread a lot of information around maintaining social distancing when the lockdown first started. Uh, and also did a lot of awareness on feeding stray dogs and contributing to charities where people are being fed. Uh, and thankfully, everybody else was doing that as well. And I guess once everybody had enough of all of that, I think we've just been pretty much posting random stuff that can make people smile. that's pretty much the only thing we can do right now, right? Anything that can just make them feel happy for a moment or positive for a moment.
Yeah, because I
And
think at the moment social media is as far as you can go in terms of socializing. So yeah, it is a happy place.
yeah, and that's it. Yeah, and just to create any sort of a happy place for all of them, and to not talk about the one thing that I've not been doing is sharing any sort of negative information, like either about the economy or the number of deaths. And I would advise not many people to do that as well. And yeah, and I think everybody should look at this time as a nice reset, where they get the opportunity to spend time with their families. They get an opportunity to probably relook at their life, probably figure out what they want from life, look at the future. It's given everybody the time to think about what they want from life. And I don't think that's ever happened in the world ever before.
I can't help but go back a little in time because you said it's given everybody the opportunity to think a little. If I'm not wrong, you started out as you are the author of a best-selling book, How I Met Anu Auntie and founded How I Braved Anu Auntie and founded $1 million company, right?
Yes.
And your at the time when the book did really well, and you are a motivational speaker as well, your motto was mainly don't think, just do. And now that all this time has been given to think, how differently do you think that is going to be used, all this time
So don't think is basically a motto is basically it's to be used when you actually think and decide on something. And I think this is that time to think and decide as to what you want, about your career, about your relationships, about what you want from life. Greatest thing that the corona has made everybody realize is that we're all mortal. We're not immortal, and we could die any moment now, right? Or we could either die or we could just live. That is now in the hands of fate. And I think that is the greatest learning from the last 2 months, which is why that puts a lot of things in perspective as to what you really want, and you got to be honest with what you want, because faking anything would mean that you're wasting all the time that you have. I think that if people can understand that they are mortal and they cannot lie to themselves and they cannot lie to what they really want from life, then they can truly live a more meaningful and successful and happy life. And I think that is something that is really cool about what's happened in the last 2 months.
That's a great takeaway, Varun. And on that great learning and this amazing chat with you, I think I'd like to thank you very much for spending some time with us and wish you all the best during the lockdown and after the lockdown as well, and hope that Mento does really well. Thank you so much on behalf of Yahoo.
Thank you so much, Chaitra, and wishing you the same as well.
Yeah.